Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, October 18th, 5:46 a.m. Central Time as I speak here. December corn futures down 4 3/4 at 678 3/4. November soybeans down 3 3/4 at 1381 1/2. December Chicago wheat down 8 at 853. December Kansas City wheat down 5 3/4 at 946 1/4. December spring wheat down 3 at 952 1/4. If you guys are listening on the podcast, appreciate it as always. Leave me a rating, leave me a review. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're super close to 7,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think we're like 50 away. So if you guys are watching and you're not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave me a comment. If you've got crop updates, harvest updates, basis updates, any opinion on anything that I say here, drop it in the comments. All of those things will help YouTube to help me to grow this channel. Very much appreciated as always, guys. If you'd like some additional information from me, go to my website, www.standardgrain.com. Check out my premium subscription service today. I send my premium subscribers a ton of information direct from me every single business day. Morning email goes out about 5:30 a.m. Central. In that email, you'll see every overnight headline you need to be aware of, all of my grain marketing recommendations, charts, graphics, weather information. My daily subscriber-only videos are part of this deal. Yesterday we talked about retracement levels, and it's a technical indicator that I think can be very useful in some situations, not all situations. I talked about it in relation to the soybean market and also ran a bunch of other charts with examples of how this can work in some situations. If you guys are interested in this sort of content, sign up today. $50 a month. Cancel at any time. No other fee, no other obligation. Nobody will try to sell you anything else. I promise. This is an information-only service, guys. Water levels on the Mississippi River near Memphis hit a record low yesterday, I believe. The National Weather Service reported the river stage at minus 10.79 feet yesterday. That's a level that eclipsed the previous record low from 1988. These National Weather Service records date back to 1954. The river stage is the difference between an agreed upon zero or normal type level and current levels. So we're down 10.79 feet versus normal, which is the lowest on record dating back to 1954. This is a bad deal, of course. There's been a lot of basis implications in some areas. Maybe this has had an impact on the futures market. It's tough to say. Now, we do have some widespread rains in the forecast. This map on my screen is the GFS total expected precipitation through November 3rd. So there's a bunch of rain here expected in these river valley areas. The only problem with this is that all of this stuff is kind of in the back half of the forecast. These rains are expected to begin accumulating around October 24th or 25th. So forecasts out that far, of course, can be wrong. They can be subject to change. We come in tomorrow, the next day, and maybe these rains aren't in the forecast. But this looks pretty convincing, and this could be helpful. But between now and then, over the next week, the water levels are going to continue to drop, which is a big problem for shipping and any sort of grain movement down the river, of course. Brazilian soybean planting continues. Well-followed private group Ag Rural estimated that the crop was 24% planted through last Thursday. They were 22% the same week last year. Brazilian farmers planted about 14% of the country's expected acreage in just 1 week. Brazilian farmers are expected to plant 42.89 million hectares. That's 106 million acres. That's an increase of 3.4% versus last year. For comparison, U.S. farmers planted 87.5 million acres of soybeans this past spring. They've got some rain in the forecast. Rain's expected to fall over almost every key Brazilian soybean corn and soybean growing area over the next 15 days or so. So the potential for record crops, corn and soybeans in Brazil, remains very much intact at this point, and that's exactly what just about every entity out there, both public and private, is projecting. NOPA released September soybean crush data yesterday. This is the National Oilseed Processors Association. NOPA members crushed 158.1 million bushels of soybeans in September. That was below the expectation, which was 161.6. It was down 4.5% from August, but up 2.8% versus the same month last year. So this isn't a half bad number. Soybean crush will accelerate in all likelihood in October and November when harvest soybean deliveries arrive at processing plants. So you'll see this number spike up to this neighborhood here over the next couple of months. That would be my guess. We talk about this because USDA projects that domestic crush will account for nearly 51% of all demand for soybeans grown in the U.S. this year. So it is important to track this crush data and be aware of just what the pace is, that sort of thing. Get into crop progress here. Soybean harvest moving very quickly, 63% nationally, up from 44 last week, well ahead of the 52% average. States that are 70% complete or better in regard to soybean harvest include Louisiana, Mississippi, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Iowa. Your slower states, states that are 50% complete or below, include Kansas, Missouri, Michigan, Kentucky, Tennessee, and North Carolina. USDA said 96% of the soybean crop is dropping leaves nationally, ahead of the 94% average. Corn harvest also ahead of schedule, 45% complete nationally, up from 31 last week, ahead of the 40% average. States that are 50% complete or better include Texas, Kansas, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, and North Carolina. 94% of the corn crop mature nationally versus 92 on average. U.S. winter wheat planting near an average pace, 69% complete nationally versus 55 last week, just a little bit ahead of the 68% average. Southern plains, northern, northwestern areas are well past the halfway point. A lot of those places are near completion. Your Midwestern SRW states slower, drag down the national average, as is normal. USDA said the crop is 38% emerged nationally versus 26 last week, 44 on average. Officials at the United Nations are working to extend the Ukraine grain shipping deal. The wheat market in particular continues to just chase these headlines around. So wheat rallied early yesterday because we had these Russian missiles landing all over Ukraine. There's, additional escalation. But then we sold off at midday yesterday. This headline was out yesterday, I think about 11 a.m. Central, give or take. UN officials reportedly held positive and constructive meetings in Moscow yesterday. The UN, the way this sounds, they're attempting to satisfy recent demands from Moscow that involve Russian grain and fertilizer shipments. Russia has basically said, this shipping deal has kind of left us out because I think there's still banks and shipping companies who are afraid to do business with Russia because of sanctions. So Ukraine's shipping program has been helped, but Russia's got a monster wheat crop. They're having trouble exporting it. It's cheap, yet they're still having trouble. A UN spokesperson said this: discussions will continue. Fertilizers and raw materials required to produce fertilizers, that includes ammonia, originating from the Russian Federation, are key to worldwide agricultural production. We are concerned about the next harvest and crisis in the making if fertilizers are not made available quickly and at a reasonable price to farmers all over the world as the sowing seasons begin. The existing Ukraine grain deal will expire next month if it's not extended or renewed, but this sounds like a step in the right direction despite all of the escalation in the war. So the United Nations, it appears as if it's making some headway here. Remember, guys, November soybean options expire on Friday. Take a look at any remaining open positions you have there. Cattle futures were higher yesterday, higher in live cattle, higher in feeders. Not much cash trade to speak of yet this week. We were a little bit better last week. U.S. dollars marginally higher. Stock market was up sharply yesterday and is up again this morning ahead of the cash open. The S&P's up 51 points. The Dow Jones up 350. Bonds about flat. Gold's down $7. Crude oil is down 21 cents in the December WTI at 84.32. Have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you same time tomorrow.